Hi all, in this video we are going to see routing in AngularJS. So routing is mainly used to navigate to different web pages in an application but providing an effect of single page application in AngularJS without reloading the entire web page. To show the demo, I am using the platform as the VS Code. And to start the AngularJS, first we have to include the script called as angular.min.js. Followed by, to enable the routing concept in AngularJS, we have to include the JS file called as angularroot.js. And to work with AngularJS, first we have to enable the directive ng app, give the app name. And to start with, we have to use with angular.module, load the module, and we have a square bracket as an empty. To work with routing in AngularJS, we have to load the module called as ng-root. So once it is done, we have to create an anchor tag to make the navigation to different web pages. To work with, I have already designed 4 different web pages, that is welcome.html, contact.html, login.html and register.html. So if you can see the web page, each web page have its own content. So this is my welcome page. So welcome page have a content. And now I am having my home page. So home page will be providing a master page effect so that by clicking the navigation, the other pages will be loaded inside this home page so that it will be providing a single web page application. So you can see here, this is our home page. So when we click this link of the home pages, the content of this specific web pages has to be loaded in the home page itself without reloading the page again. And to give it, you have to give the values in the href to identify the link to the welcome page, login page, register and the contact. So to start with, you have to use the hash symbol, then exclamatory mark, then you have to give the slash because it is a home page. The home page should contain the welcome page to be loaded first. Then for login, we have to give again hash symbol and the exclamatory mark, followed by we need to use some keyword to identify the web page. And the next thing is we have to go with the register page, and for that also you have to use the hash symbol and then you have to give a identification. And the next thing is you have to give with contact. So now when this anchor link get clicked, we have to identify this routing, and based on the routing it will be navigate to the particular web page. And to start the navigation, we have the function called as configuration. So app.config. In the app.config, we need to define a function. The function have a parameter called as root provider. So this root provider only used to configure all the routes which anchor link is clicked, it has to navigate to which page. So we started the root provider. Inside the root provider, we have to configure each route. So root provider dot when this particular anchor link is clicked, the corresponding symbol related in the href got enabled, and based on that we need to follow the particular URL. To specify the URL, we have a parameter called as template URL colon. We have to give the URL where to navigate. Welcome.html. So you can see here when this welcome page link is clicked and this root node get enabled, and based on the root symbol, the corresponding page get loaded in our web page. And this web page loading has to be viewed in this home page. So to make a view, we can use ng view, or we can use div with ng view, or we can use the third way as div with the class name as ng view. So here I am going to use with div with ng view. The content whatever coming from the other web pages get loaded here. So content get loaded from the other web pages. So now we will save the page and go and refresh. You can see the welcome page is the root page. So automatically when the page get loaded, we are having the root page get loaded with the welcome page. And now same thing we have to write for login, register and contact. So we have the same root provider. We need to write for each configuration. So when it is a login, then we have to navigate to the login page. Save it, go to login, click login. So the login page we got. And same thing we have to repeat for the register page. So when the link is clicked, the register get enabled. So we have to move to the web page called as register.html. And the last one is contact. When the anchor link of contact is get clicked, and this contact.html get enabled. So we can click here, register and contact us. Welcome page. So this is the way how you can provide routing in AngularJS. And when we click the link, we want to make some dynamic effect inside the web pages of welcome page, login page, register page, contact page. For example, when the welcome page gets loaded, I want to display the heading inside the welcome page. It is a welcome page. And when I click login, it has to display here the title as a login page. So I want to do it dynamically based on the anchor link click. The content of that web page has to be modified. So to do that, we need to add the controller. So to add the controller in the configuration itself, we have to configure the controller. So the first controller I am going to use with the controller is welcome control. So like that, I am going to add the controller to the login and add the controller to the register. Add the controller to the contact. So we have configured the corresponding controller because controller only enable to write some logics when the particular web page get loaded. So we need to write the logic for this controller. So to write the logic, we need to call the app.controller and we have to form the controller name. So the controller name is welcome control and we need to define the function. So when we define the function, we use the scope variable because it is going to act as a connection between the view, that is our script, and the HTML. And we are going to add the variable message is equal to, this is a welcome page. So this message variable will be used in the welcome page. So dynamically, when the welcome link is clicked, this dynamic message will be enabled inside the welcome page. So we go to the welcome page and here in the heading, I am using this double curly bracket to access the message. So we click the welcome page. So we are getting the title of the web page dynamically based on the configuration inside the root provider. So like that, we can do it for all the web pages. We can add the contact page, we can add the login page, and then we can add the register page. So for each, you need to add the controller in our home page. So we are going to add the corresponding controller First one is register control. So this is the registration page. And like that, I'm going to add the login control, and this will be the login page. And this will be the contact control, and this will be contact page. So now we save all the codes. So after saving, I will be going to my home page. So welcome page, login page, register page, and the contact page. So now we are going to see the form status in AngularJS, how to access the status of the form elements. So that we are going to see here. So to check the status of the form, we have basically 4 status messages, that is valid, invalid, pristine, and dirty. So I want to know the status of this particular text box. So to work with, I will go to my register page. So to access the particular form element, you need to give the name of the form, then you need to give the name for the control, and also you have to include the ng model. So you want to see the status of the form element by using the 4 status values: valid, invalid, pristine, and the dirty. So to work with, use with a double curly bracket, identify the form element using form name, dot, name of the control, dot, and the status. That is the invalid, and the next status is valid, and the next one is pristine, and the last one is dirty. So these will return the values as either true or false. So we are getting true, false, true, false. So what this represents true, the first status is a invalid status. Invalid means we are having the nothing available inside the text box. Then valid, valid is true because we are not having any valid information inside the text box. So valid is false, invalid is true. And then pristine, that is nothing is modified yet in the particular text box. False represents we don't have any values since it doesn't have any value. So no dirty values are available, so that it will be false. So now you start to type it. The status of the particular things get changed, invalid. So now we have a value in the text box, so it is a valid. And then dirty because it has some values and it's not yet modified. Now it get modified, so the pristine value changed to false. And there are 2 error messages which is called as error required and error email. So based on the required field, so it will enable the button. If all fields are correctly entered in your form, then only the button get enabled. Otherwise, the register button get disabled. So you want to make it dynamically to check all fields are not empty and the email is in the correct format. Then only the register button has to be enabled. So this span tag display, your name is required. So I want to make it dynamically. When I start to enter something in that required field, this has to disappear. So to do that, this span tag I'm going to use with the directive called as ng-show. This span tag will be visible if there is nothing in the text box, and also the error message written back is required. If you start to type something, automatically the span tag will not be appear with the red color. So to do that, we are adding with a directive called as ng-show. We identify the form dot, the text box dot, followed by invalid and we are having the next condition, that is my form dot t1 dot error dot record. So if these conditions are true, then this field will be appearing, otherwise the field will be disappearing. So now initially nothing is entered. So when I start to enter, so automatically the span, the color will be or disappearing dynamically when you start to enter the value in the particular text box. Same thing, you have an email. Email will be in a specific format. So if you are not entering in the specific format, and then you have to get an error message. So now we are going to include the formatting for the email. So to do that, first we include a span tag. So email required and not in format. So initially we load the message. So we are getting the messages email required, not in format. So to make dynamic enabling of our email in the correct format, I'm going to use with ng show. First I need to check whether the field is empty or not. So my form dot t2 dot error dot required. So any one condition, because always the field is not to be empty. If it is not to be empty, then you need to check the condition my form dot t2 dot the error messages email formatting. So now we will go here. So when I start to type the email, first condition satisfied because the field is not empty. Then I am giving the proper symbol with the corresponding @ symbol and in the email format. So the error message will be disappearing. So now both the things, now I want to connect with this button. If these two fields are correct, then only my register button has to enable. Otherwise, it will not be enabled. So to enable the button dynamically disable or enabled, we have a directory called as ng disabled. The button will be disabled if the conditions are not satisfied. Either the field is empty or the email is not in the correct format, the button get disabled. So to check with, we need to use with form name dot text box and it should be required. So I am going to use with the error message that it is required. And the next condition, the next text box I am going to use with my form dot t2 dot the error messages email, because the next text box is mainly focusing on the email formatting. So I am going to use with email formatting. If both the things are not satisfied, the button will be disabled. If it gets satisfied, automatically the button get enabled. So initially you can see the button is disabled. So you start to type it correctly, and also you have email format, but before that itself it become enabled. So you have to check both the condition, that is our text box 2 also required. Text box 2 also required. So now even though the first text box is not empty, still my second text box is empty. So once I start to type it and my email is in the correct format, then only my button get enabled. You can see here, initially my button is disabled. The button is disabled because the first text box is empty. The second text box is also empty, but the email format is also not in the correct format. So when I start to type values in the first text box become valid. That is, the required information is there in the first text box. But still in the second text box, there is no values. So you can start to enter the value. Now it have a value, but still it is not in the email format. So when I use with the email format, automatically my button get enabled. I hope you got a clear idea that how to make a navigation by using the routing in AngularJS, and also how to handle the form elements dynamically by knowing the status of the form elements. Thank you.